Celeste here. Welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, make sure you go down below and like and subscribe so that way you can see more of my content and my weekly vlogs that I post and my thought-provoking kind of more podcast type of videos that I like to do on Tuesdays. So today I'm going to be talking about money mindset again because I'm really passionate about this kind of topic. I grew up pretty I guess poor, and so your money mindset usually comes from when you're growing up, your environment and your parents and kind of the area that you're in. And it's really good to evaluate like how you feel about money, things that maybe you need to think about and work through, and kind of help yourself understand like how money works and what you can do to maybe help your situation, even if you're in a job that doesn't pay a lot of money. So for me, I like to look at my budget first of all, because I just love budgeting. I love saving money. So I try to figure out the least amount of money I can spend every month and how much I can try to save. Now, of course, if you're in a very low job, which actually I looked at the statistics because it feels like most Americans don't make enough money to live or survive. And you know what? It's true. It said that 44% of Americans are in jobs that are low wage. So that's why pretty much everyone you see or meet is really struggling to even keep a roof over their head and pay for super basic things. And we should not have people out here working full-time or working 2 or 3 jobs and still not being able to afford basic things. These people will never be able to become financially free. They'll never have retirement. They'll never have emergency funds for themselves if they get sick or if their car breaks down or just anything happens. You know, you don't really have any means to kind of get out of that cycle. So it's a really terrible cycle to be in, and I would love to see it be, become improved. That's why I'm all for people being paid with living wages. I'm all for health insurance for all. We should not tie your health and your livelihood together. Your life should not depend on your job. We have a huge population of people that literally are just stuck there and they can't really get out. And I don't know what the solution is, but I think that we have so many people here in America. I think we should be able to figure it out. I don't know. I mean, it's why are we in such a broken system, first of all? Like, we are a humongous country. Like, we cannot figure this out. We have so much money. We're a super wealthy country too. Because I don't want people feeling like that it's their fault because, if you are living paycheck to paycheck and you're working as hard as you can and you still cannot keep up with your bills, that's not your fault. Like, you can only scrimp, save, cut so many corners. There are things you can't cut out, like you cannot cut out food. You can't cut out maybe your gas or your car insurance. I mean, some people do, but it's very risky, if you end up in a wreck and things like that. And it's not a good situation to be in, A lot of people are foregoing health insurance. But again, that's a really risky situation because you could end up in the hospital and rack up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and ruin your credit. It's just, you gotta think about all of this. And that's why whenever you see someone who's really struggling or you're viewing someone, like, don't judge them for like their situation and where they're at. Because everyone who has made it in life, they've had something helping them. They've had a stable home life. They've had someone who believed in them and someone who put time into them to help them grow. They always had some kind of help. If you look at people who really have no connections like that, since childhood or young adulthood, if they had no one there to kind of help them along, guide them, even if it was something really, really small, then you're going to be in 2 different places. That's just what I try to do. I don't judge someone based on whatever is going on in their life, because life is really hard and we're all just trying to just survive and make it. And there's definitely enough money out in the world for all of us to be happy, for all of us to survive and to make it. A lot of people just want to jump to conclusions about that. Actually, I saw on my Facebook group, so on this Facebook group, there's a lot of people trolling in it, of course, and this guy probably trolls a lot, but he put in there single, like he was blaming women, single moms. He was saying that statistics show that single moms or children are more likely to go on to commit murder, crimes, things like that. And he was putting the blame on the personality of a woman. And I was like, what? I mean, that's the same mentality that I saw in Mississippi, where it was like they saw a race of people that were like in a bad area of town and had a lot of crime. Then they wanted to put the poverty and the crime and say that it was because a race of people actually was more inclined to be that way. And I was like, I mean, ever since I was like a child, I always thought that, you know, just because it looks like on the surface that's the cause, doesn't mean that's the cause, you know? Like, there's way more going on. You know, I guess it requires more in-depth thinking, more researching and things like that. A lot of people like to just point fingers and accuse people of something. I know that they do that with the people who are unhoused. You know, they just point fingers at them and say, you deserve this, like, you're obviously lazy, you know, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. It's easy for them to just say that, and then they just release themselves from trying to empathize, from trying to help, figure out why this person is in their situation. You know, instead of looking at the root cause of it and trying to actually help, they just want to write it off and go about their day. I told this person, like, I totally do not think that's accurate at all. Like, it does not matter a woman's personality. It matters that women are being paid less than men. I mean, even if they have the same experience or the same degree, they're still being paid less. Really hard for them to get themselves out of poverty. It's something that you have to think of, is that how is your life as a single mom if you are in an impoverished situation, if you've grown up in a cycle of generational trauma of poverty and in an area like that? Like, how are you going to get yourself out of that? Because first of all, you probably do not have a vehicle. You probably have to ride the bus, and riding the bus takes so much time. And if you're already struggling to work a job that pays you enough for you to survive with your children, because children are expensive. So if it takes a lot of time for you to do all these things, you're having to drive hours on the bus before work and hours on the bus after work just to drop your kid off, just to get back on, like to go to your job. You probably have a second job, a third job, like you're working day and night, you're caring for this child. You have no time, you know, help that child with schoolwork or different things like that. So you cannot just say, because it's a single mom, then it's her fault and it's her personality that actually is causing these things, and it's not. It's actually society. It's a very complicated system, and that's what people don't really realize. I like to, because I have more of a science mind and I have a biochemistry degree, I like to figure out the root cause of things. Like, I don't like to just look at something on the surface and make a judgment on it. I want to figure out what were the little things that happened? You know, what happened along the way? They could have gone left, right, straight. You know, like what life choices, decisions, and like how their life played out in bringing them to where they are. Like, that's what we have to look at. It doesn't matter how much money you make, first of all. Like, you could be someone who makes so much money, but if you spend every single dime of it, then you're going to be paycheck to paycheck. So if you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck, try to get a higher paying job, which is really hard. Or you have to try to lower your expenses even more, which is like maybe take on roommates or just rent a room in someone's house or apartment instead of getting your own place. Or maybe even just living in an RV. I mean, just doing whatever it takes for you to try to start setting yourself up in your life so that eventually maybe you can be to the point where you don't have to be in that situation. We do have to realize, I mean, just because someone else can do it doesn't mean that everyone can do it. I mean, just because one person is in construction and they're making okay money because they're in maybe a union construction job, it doesn't mean that I can go and like start building stuff. I have issues with my hands and my wrist. You have to think of people if they have disabilities and things like that. If there's something keeping them from certain jobs and occupations, that's not on them either. You know, that's society again. It needs to step up and needs to help each other out. Like, those people will have no income for 1 to 2 years before they can be approved for disability. Oh, sweetheart, you're so cute. Oh, this little nose. She loves to just lay here while I do my videos. I wish more people would look at that, look at the cause of things, and instead of like leading with accusations and blaming people, they would actually try to help each other and come up with solutions and things like that. I am all about solutions. If all of us had the wealth of Bezos or Elon Musk, like, what kind of things would we be doing? What kind of things would we be creating? And a lot of them keep their money kind of locked in certain things, you know, so that it doesn't actually you don't have to pay taxes on it, stocks and things like that. Loopholes for corporations, for individuals who are super wealthy to be able to evade paying taxes and things like that. And if you have like millions or billions, I don't quite understand why they would want to evade paying taxes, because they still use the same things that we do, that taxes pay, what keeps the country running, which is what we need. You can't have this huge country and not have systems set in place. You have to have these things. You have to have the fire department. You have to have police, even though I don't necessarily agree with everything that they're doing and their stance and how they act and treat people, but there's still things that we need. And to not want to contribute or pay into that, even though you're making a crazy amount of money, even though you have more money than you could ever spend, and you have all of your needs met and taken care of. And yet the people who are hardly making any money, it's up to them. Like, they don't get loopholes, they don't get tax write-offs, and they don't get those luxuries. And I don't understand why there is such an attack on 44% of the population who is struggling to live. It's, they're the people who are making your burger. When you go into a restaurant, they're the people there. When you go out and go have fun, at some event, they're the ones there making the event happen. They're the people that you see all around you. They're the ones at retail when you go buy stuff. And I don't understand why there's such attack on that, because if that entire 44% of the population is considered a lesser than job, and maybe a job only for teenagers, then you would only be able to go do those things after they get out of high school. You would only be able to go there when what time does school usually get out? 3? You would only be able to go do those things after 3. If there's late at night, they shouldn't be working, because they're kids. So maybe you'd only have a little window from maybe 3 to 8 or something, 3 to 9, 3 to 10, but they still have to go home and do their homework and stuff. It doesn't make sense. That's what I'm just trying to get across to a lot of people, is that their thought process does not make sense. These jobs are not lesser than. These jobs are not easy, and these jobs are not for high school students. They're not for children. Let's just face it, that's just the truth of it. So if that's the truth of it, then why is it not considered a better job? Why is it not paid better? Why doesn't it get benefits? Things like that. And with the pandemic happening, I was hopeful and excited that people would finally see that these front-facing employees that have to put up with abuse daily and get paid such low wages, they would finally be recognized. They would finally maybe start to gain some ground in, getting better wages and better treatment. Sadly, that just wasn't the case. I saw what Chipotle pays, and it's absolutely atrocious. I was like, okay, that is such a low wage. Even if you're in management and things like that. In McDonald's, other places, it's just, even if you're assistant manager or manager, it's such low pay. It's for the area, it's not even a living wage. I'm like, come on, what is this? How much money does McDonald's make? How much money does Walmart make? You can't do this for your employees, I don't think that we should have to be saying this. It should be common sense for these employers to want to contribute to the country and to the area that they are making billions from. Why would they not? People are drawn to power, money, prestige, especially since we really glorify money through the TV shows that we've been watching, the music and stuff that's been being created, like the Kardashians, things like that. When you see those types of TV shows and you see that they spent $100,000 at a kid's birthday party. Of course, I love YouTube. So I watched a YouTube video, and it was about the children that come from the super, super wealthy. I would like to find that again, because I think if you've not watched that, definitely go try to find it. It was really weird, because these people, these children, or they were in their 20s, at that point. They had grown up in this bubble. It's almost like a life that's just so different from most average people that they couldn't even understand the concept of someone struggling to pay for food or basic necessities, because they grew up surrounded by so much wealth and money. Those types of things just never were even in their mind. They never even thought about it. And it's just wild for me to think that there are so many people up in that realm, that are just so disconnected or don't really have much empathy, because to them it's like everything has been there. Like, your parents didn't go buy you a house and pay for your college and get you a car, and you know, it's like they don't even put the two and two together, and it's really crazy and wild. I totally don't understand it. It also makes you wonder, is it better than to not have those things, so that way at least you can relate to more people? I like helping people figure out their money situation, because for me it has always been like such a very stressful thing for me. Like money, you know, it's always been really hard for me to earn money or make money. No matter how hard I work or try or what I do, it's always been something that has been extremely difficult. I've always been a big saver. Like, I can do literally anything to save $1. Sometimes you have to have that. You have to such a penny pincher, just so you can start to build your foundation that you can maybe in the future not have to worry about it. So it's been like 16 years since I started working, and I've been able to save a lot of money. I've been able to invest a lot of money, and I highly recommend that if you are someone who makes, you know, a decent amount, like, try to get your expenses as low as you possibly can and try to save money. Doesn't mean you don't go live life and do things. There's a lot of like free stuff to do. I go out hiking, I go to parks, like there's so much free stuff. Instead of buying books, go to the library. I mean, it's just, you'll save some trees, you know, everyone's gonna be using the same books. A lot of things. Try to swap stuff out. Instead of like going to super expensive restaurants, maybe go to some that are a little bit less expensive. And what you can swap out that'll still bring you joy and happiness, but it'll be maybe a little bit less money. For me, that is, instead of like buying food when I go out, I just buy coffees, or I'll buy myself, you know, like a tea or something like that. I buy a drink because it's less expensive than buying like a full-on entree or lunch or something like that. That's something that I feel like I'm treating myself. I get to go to this really beautiful cafe and I get to enjoy it. I get to edit my videos from it, and the energy and just the inspiration of being there. But I don't have to spend like $20. You know, I can spend $5 or $6. 2 years ago, I do believe it was 2 years ago, I put in my little notes in my app. I wrote down like the kind of life that I want in the future. So that way it can always be kind of in the back of my mind, like what I'm working towards, what I want. And I wrote out like the kind of house that I would like to have, the kind of dog that I want, you know, how much I want to be saving every month and investing and putting towards a retirement, and the places I want to visit, experience. I want to go to Europe. I want to see the world. I want to try all the food, you know, all these different things. I want to take a martial arts class because I'm big into like self-defense and things like that. And so it was just like, I wrote down everything that I wanted. I wrote down the cost estimates of what everything was, and like how much money I want to give back to my community, how much money I want to give to help my family, because my family struggled a lot with money. And then I put down like the total of like what it's going to be. It was quite a bit. But that's my goal. You know, that's what I'm working toward now. It's fun to dream about and visualize your future life and what it's going to look like and how many people you're going to help or impact. And for me, that's just super valuable. That's what I'm like working on, is like my mindset towards money, because I know that there is so much money out in the world. It's just, you have to focus on like what works with you, on how to make that money. It's a process. You know, you have to do a lot of things to try different businesses, try different careers, try different cities and areas and countries, and just go wherever you'll be happy and whatever is going to fit you. I mean, money doesn't even have to always be the end goal. It's just also your happiness and your comfort. I watched a YouTube video, what's it called? Millennial Money. Yes, Millennial Money. And it was about this lady who lived in South Korea who was teaching English, and she only made like $24,000 a year, so not like a lot, but she was able to live happily, and she did it because it worked for her. Her housing was free that they provided for her in the school and all that kind of stuff. She loved her life. So it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be about your money, but you just want to make sure that you have enough money from whatever you're doing to make sure you cover your expenses. I have my friend Raven, who's unhoused. He should be getting disability, you know, hopefully soon. I did a video on him, so go check that out on my channel. And he was telling me, I mean, he gets his tent broken into, like cut and broken into, and things stolen like constantly. I mean, it's really upsetting that someone who is unhoused and just has a tent on the side of the road, that people would come and steal from them. And hopefully he will be able to find something. But his situation is complicated because his disability would probably only pay him like $800 a month, which is like, that doesn't even cover housing here in Seattle. It's ridiculous. He may have to start some cancer treatment in Seattle. So he said he can't move too far from Seattle, and he doesn't have a vehicle, and he may not have his license. You know, it's just like a lot of barriers there. And so I told him his best bet once he gets his back pay of disability would be probably to buy a vehicle, get his license, and I like helping people in these types of ways. It will help you with budgeting. Like, let's write out all of your potential expenses and stuff. I told him his best bet is probably to get himself a trailer in a trailer park, because they can have like a little bit of land in the back, because he does his blacksmith work and stuff like that. And that can help him make income on the side, so he can maybe be able to make ends meet, or maybe he could get a roommate. Like, I'm just trying to like run through all the scenarios and possibilities of what is going to allow him to finally have housing after 17 years of being unhoused, and how he's going to make it work, even though he's only going to be getting $800 a month with his disability. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that people are expected to survive and live on $800 a month. I don't even think you could have lived on $800 a month in the 80s, and houses are like 3 times what they were in that time, or maybe more. I mean, it's crazy. So that was like today's video. I just want to kind of discuss these types of things, just get people thinking. So just let me know down below if you're kind of in that kind of situation, like if you are trying to save for retirement, if you're trying to figure out your financial, you know, situation, if you're one of the 44% who is in the, you know, making a lower income. Like, let me know down below, like, your story, your ideas, your struggles, and, you know, any questions that you have. Also, you can check out my Patreon. It is down below in the description. I post like really pretty like artistic photos and things like that. If you have a question, you really want to ask me like different things, I have my Hey Hero account, and that also is in the link down below. And I'll see y'all in the next video.